Let's talk about our housing crisis and just how many people are actually sleeping on our streets more than a year into the pandemic. The last count said it was just over 2,000 people in Multnomah County. Conventional wisdom is that homelessness has gone up since then during the pandemic. And it's not just based on optics. Amid historic job losses due to COVID, economists predicted a 40 to 45% rise in homelessness nationwide. And locally, service providers have braced for a tidal wave of need. Now, all that being said, homelessness is a much broader, more complex issue than just those living on our streets. But we will start there because it is a big question that we get a lot. Are there more people on the streets here in the Portland metro area? Well, the blunt question is we can't know for sure, at least not yet, because the data is lagging, at least months behind, and you'll hear why in a minute. So for now, we're turning to Cascadia Behavioral Health Care. They have for years deployed outreach teams to help people on our streets find basic services and connect them to housing. And the woman who oversees that program is named Kim James. So I talked to her about this question. We have a lot of people writing in saying it's clear the housing crisis is worse than ever. I see more tents than I've ever seen. It just looks bigger. That's obvious. But you, having been out on the ground as much as you have, it sounds like you're not quite convinced that the numbers have gone up that much. And we don't have data, by the way, I should say, to back that up because the county's count was postponed a year. So what's your take on that?
So I think that those of us that are on the street, we recognize that there are more tents on the street. We don't agree with the premise that every tent equals another person. I could be that person with, again, my one tent and 3 other tents belong to me simply because that's my stuff. And so I think a person walking by will say, oh my gosh, look at all these tents. And then we turn around and say, right, but there's one person who owns these 3 tents in a cluster or these 5 tents in a cluster. It is we equate it to if I was housed, this would be my various rooms of stuff. We have some people with full bedrooms, full couches, living room sets in their tents, in separate tents. You are seeing more people on the street simply because the places that people were able to go during the day, they're not available. People, especially say downtown, would be able to fold their stuff up, pack up, go somewhere during the day and set back up overnight. Right now, you're not seeing that because those places are not accessible. You're seeing people who are kind of dug in, which is what would not have happened historically because we understood that, we can't stay here all day. But at this point, I think it's going to take us a little while and a lot of collaboration amongst agencies, including the city and the county, to ensure that we, pull this back together.
So that is James's theory, that homelessness hasn't risen as much as it appears. Instead, she thinks a lot of people acquired multiple tents because the city largely stopped clearing camps during the pandemic. That process, by the way, is now picking back up again. But as I said, we don't have current data on how many people are actually sleeping outside. And that's because Multnomah County was supposed to do their regular count of the homeless this past January, but they postponed it by a year due to concerns about COVID. So assuming that it happens this coming January, we will get the results, that new data, in the summer of 2022. It is worth noting that Marion County did do their count earlier this year, so we should get the results of that one this summer. Stay tuned. In the meantime, I do want to remind you all about our Hey Help campaign. This week, we are highlighting Cascadia Behavioral Health Care, and we're asking you to consider donating to help support the services they provide for our most vulnerable community members. So just open the camera on your phone like you're going to take a picture and point it at this QR code. It'll take you to a donation link. It makes it super easy. And by the way, we're calling this a micro donation drive, so feel free to give any amount, no matter how small. Each week, we're going to highlight a different cause. So if you know of a nonprofit or organization in need, let us know with that hashtag HeyDan.